Thank you. I guess.
I was getting the grand tour.
Well, reporting of the Tax and Budget Committee, we had a lively discussion as usual, although we were missing one of our usual combatants, but we'll wait for her to come up next year. First of all, I wanted to go acknowledge the past recommendations that came out of the summit, just out of the Tax and Budget Committee over the past few years. It's a pretty impressive list. It included recommendations to create the Department of Revenue, to do pension reform, the property tax cap, S50, 3050, corporate tax reform, estate tax reform, individual personal income tax reform, the repeal of the franchise tax, increasing the direct expensing provisions to the federal limits, removing the state tax on utilities, reducing the minimum tax to $400, and providing some relief for retirement income. We've also held the line on broad-based taxes for most of the past 10 years, and we've held back efforts to impose binding arbitration. These are all important actions that got their start out of this summit. What it tells me is that these people up here are listening and responding. And we want to make sure that we do not do any backpedaling on these gains. Last year, I sat up here and told you that the most important issue that was getting a lot of attention was the getting the letter of good standing out of the Division of Taxation. We got a lot of press on it. The summit was on a Friday. The next week, I received a call from the people at the Division of Taxation saying, what's the problem? And they met with Mark Hayward and Bob Mancini and myself. To their credit, they took the criticism constructively and decided they had to fix it. They started a lean process, which they invited us to participate in. And what they discovered, also Liz Tanner from Commerce was part of that lean process. What they discovered in processing a letter of good standing was it took 161 touches by people within the Department of Division of Taxation, and it took an average of 90 days. They couldn't believe it themselves. They set up a procedure to go through 3 steps to fix it. They've gotten through 2 of those steps. At the end of the day, they're going to get down to 16 touches and, for the most part, have a limit of 7 days. The final solution includes the implementation of a new computer system, which I've been assured will be implemented much better than the DHS and the DMV. The critical point is that your voices were heard and listened to, and action were taken. Last year, I presented you with a Star Wars laser sword. I have another thing that I think that we need at this point, and this is a stress ball that you can press, and it lights up when you're really upset. In the tax and budget session today, I would remark that Nina Savage, the tax administrator, actively participated in our discussions, and she gave us an update on where the letter of good standing bill, our process is going, and she promises within the first half of this year it will be fixed, and we all look forward to that. We are going to keep her feet to the fire on that and follow up with her. Out of this year's session, we looked at the tax foundation's rating systems, which are frustrating and frustrating for all the people involved in government and in business, which places us at the bottom of the barrel in many cases. When we break down their system, there are 2 areas that are really hurting us. The first one is unemployment tax. We're 50 out of 50. And it's not right to sit in the General Assembly and say, well, we're 50 out of 50, we can't have any more bad news. No, we got to fix this the situation. It's the one area that will move the needle, but it's going to take a serious review and analysis of what's working and not working within the unemployment system area. And our recommendation is going to be to do a comprehensive study and analysis, look at what other states are doing, look at what our stakeholders are dealing with. There's a number of different areas in there, but the one thing we have to address is the seasonal employees, and we have to come up with creative. Seasonal employees would include the landscapers that work in the summer, and plus the hospitality industry, plus the construction industry. These are all critical industries to our economy. We're going to look at how they're affected by this unemployment. They're getting hammered at the highest rates. So there's some ideas that have been floated. I think we need to invite the stakeholders in on this decision making. A lot of states don't put the seasonal worker into the unemployment system because they know they're always going to be working 3 or 4 months and then not working. Do we put them in at a lower benefit rate? Do we do an incentive to get off of unemployment? Do we pay more in the beginning of the collection period and reduce that over time? I think we need creative solutions. And it's going to take other states are dealing with it. We got to see what other states are doing. The second issue is property taxes. We're ranked 44th in the property tax level. We did implement the property tax cap. That has helped, but we have a lot of areas of concern there. Some of the items we identified is that the inequity of the taxing of businesses versus residential properties. Many of the urban core communities have the ability to have a tiered tax system where they can tax residential, like Providence will tax residents at $18 a thousand. They'll tax business real estate at $36.70. They'll tax commercial tangible property at $55.80, and they'll tax vehicles at $60 per thousand. The businesses don't vote in those communities, so they're easy targets. Believe it or not, Providence is not the biggest offender. Smithfield taxes residents at $16.73 and tangibles at $60.74. We should standardize the way that they're taxing in municipalities, and we should try to eliminate the taxes on business tangible property. It puts our Rhode Island in a competitive disadvantage. In the last campaign, there was much discussion about the unfairness of the motor vehicle tax system. The speaker has vowed to eliminate the system over 5 years. The price tag on that is pretty high, $218 million. And there's huge variances in the assessment rates of the various communities. And there's this question of, if we make these communities whole, are we favoring one over the other? I would recommend that we look at how Massachusetts taxes vehicles. They tax one rate. If a car is taxed as a car in Boston and Springfield, the same amount in each location, so you're not paying more to one city or town than the other. And then deal with making whole or weaning off the communities like Providence and North Providence and the urban core over a period of time, and then deal with the overall tax. Maybe it'll come out, if you use an average, it might be $25 a thousand. And then we can see whether that makes sense. We are concerned about the unfairness that might be between communities, so we'd ask you to look at that. One other suggestion, I know last year we passed tolling, and we were looking for a rebate or some relief for the local truckers. Perhaps the property tax exemption at the local levels of trucks that are located here might be an option that wouldn't run into constitutional issues and might be a way to provide some relief. The other issue is the estate taxes. We encourage you to continue to increase the exemption on estate taxes. It is a problem with people leaving, despite what some of the statistics are. I know in each one of our CPA offices we do that every year. We did get the $1.5 million exemption, and we did get the, remove the cliff. The problem is, and that helped a lot, the problem is other states have not stood still. There's 14 states that assess an estate tax now. We are becoming an outlier, and we are number 4 in the lowest exemption at the 1.5, and we will drop to number 3 when DC moves their exemption up to $2 million next year. This is a long-term problem. I hope you'll be able to make some progress on it. One of the things to consider, including the exemption, would be to make an interim exemption for small businesses and family farms and exempt them if they stay in the state for 5 years or stay as a small business. That would send a good message that we're trying to help businesses. In the plenary session this morning, I was pleased that one of the questions was whether we should have an economic impact statement for all proposed legislation. I've been proposing that for a number of years. In the package that we'll send out, we do have a one-page questionnaire that starts that process. Basically, does this job increase jobs or lose jobs? Does it increase regulation or lose regulations? Does it cost more to the taxpayer? Does it cost more to the employee? Simple process, but each bill should at least address that if you're going to deal with the economy. We look forward to working with you all this next session, and hopefully we'll be productive for all of us. Thank you.